Rewind Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
It's showtime, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're streaming live, broadcasting from the world's famous WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago in the great neighborhood of Jefferson Park. This is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the marvelous one, Dan Marver. What's up, Marver? How are you?
Hey, great to be here. A beautiful day in Chicago. I wish there was baseball.
Well, you know what? I think many of us wish there was baseball going on also, and unfortunately, it seems like the millionaires are battling the billionaires, and at the pace and the rate that we're going right now, we'll be lucky if we even get 50 games in before the, before the dust settle, as they say.
They would have been playing in London today, by the way. This is the weekend of London for Cubs-Cardinals.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, they're not playing in London. At least the Cubs and the Cardinals aren't playing in London, that's for sure. Folks, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation. If you want to join us, our number is 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278. Anything in the world of sports you guys want to talk about, your girls want to talk about, we're right here for you. But, of course, there's so much going on around the world. This is the 20th day of protesting taking place across the country since the unfortunate, tragic murder of George Floyd back, was it Labor Day?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. What am I talking about? Memorial Day. Is Memorial Day. I always get those two mixed up, but there's a lot of labor going on Memorial Day. But anyway, 20 days since the protest, and I guess it was the verdict that came down that the officer was charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter, and that pretty much set off everything. And, of course, it's been upgraded to second-degree murder, and many people are looking for first-degree murder, which it's kind of interesting that it's not even first-degree murder, but of course it's got to go through, all the protocol and the procedure and all of that. And here locally in the Chicagoland area, the big news this past week was 13 cops found lounging in Congressman Bobby Rush's office over there on the South Side. Said that they were tired, they're fatigued, they had enough, the looting had stopped. They were tired, dead beat, laid out, sprawled out. Hey, listen, I hadn't eaten in 24 hours. I needed to get something to eat. I needed to get some coffee. Congressman Bobby Rush had some coffee in there. I took care of that, helped myself to that. I had some popcorn. I went on over there and munched up. Then I took a snooze. I was there for about 4 or 5 hours. What harm was there? The looting had stopped. Unbelievable. What'd you think of that, Marvelous?
Well, I mean, it's... There's so much other stuff going on. It sort of fell into a gap for me, but it's craziness everywhere going on.
Yeah, it is crazy.
If they wanted food, they should have just done like everybody else and smashed a few windows.
Yeah, well, supposedly, I mean, we don't want to make light of that either, but supposedly they said they had food and that was taken as well. Oh yeah, by the way, they said Congressman Bobby Rush had permission. The spokesperson, there was a representative for his office, and said, hey, go on over there. They looted our office. We don't want any more destruction. Go on over there. Make yourself at home. And my buddy, I'm not going to call him out, but we were going back and forth, texting and emailing today. And he said, come on, Jerry. These guys were tired. It's okay. They didn't do anything wrong. What do you expect them to do? I mean, they were hungry. They were tired. They weren't sleeping. They weren't lounging around. I go, wait, didn't you see the guy? Didn't you see the police officer? He was marvelous. He looked like me on a Saturday afternoon after watching the Ohio State Buckeyes beat the hell out of Michigan Wolverines. And I'm just saying, I'm exhausted. I'm sprawled out on my couch. That's how this police officer looked. My buddy goes, no, Jerry, you didn't see that. I go, wait a minute. I saw the guy. He's laid out. No. He was just resting. He wasn't lounging around. I'm going, come on now. Come on now. There were two the commanders and lieutenants. What are these guys doing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the mayor says that at least 3 of them had white shirts, which means they had leadership roles.
Yeah. And they're just having a good time. They're on their cell phones. By the way, if you want to get on your cell phone, check us out streaming live on Facebook Live. It's the RewindSports60.com, the Rewind Sports 60, or of course, WCPT 820 AM. But these cops were sitting on they're on their phones. They're on their cell phones. Hey. They're playing, what is it, the games that they play nowadays? I was going to say Donkey Kong, but I don't even know if they're playing Donkey Kong now.
They were making popcorn at
Candy
least.
Crush. They were playing Candy Crush. That's what they were doing, eating popcorn, playing Candy Crush. They're drinking the coffee, having a good time. Looters, rioters. And I told my family, we're watching this stuff. I'm going to call them out and say, hey, they lied. They lied. They're all lying. And the FOP, the president of FOP, I invited him on the show. Supposedly, he didn't want to come on because he didn't want retaliation from the mayor's office, Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
John Canizaro.
Yeah, Canizaro. I say, hey, come on the show. I want to talk about it. Let's discuss this thing because he blatantly lied, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. He said that Bobby Rush, he brought up stuff from like 3, 4, 5 years ago. Bobby Rush, he hates white cops. He's a former Black Panther. We know that. He's full of crap. We'll use some more colorful language. I go, wait. I go, wait a minute. Hang on here. Wait a minute, buddy. Hang on. I know your job and your position is to protect the police officers. I get it. That's your job. You're part of the union. Well, wait a minute. Hang on. What does this have to do with these guys lounging around for 4 or 5 hours in Congressman Bobby Rush's office after looting's going on and continuously going on over there on the South Side? What is his affiliation or former affiliation or any affiliation regarding the Black Panthers have to do with the fact that 13 cops, 3 of them in supervisory roles, just chilling, like they say, as villains. And they're just saying, hey, and he goes, the looting was done. Hello, hang on here. They were there for 4 or 5 hours. He said the looting ended hours ago. What is he talking about? Like we don't live in this city, and we let me tell you something. I got to give credit to the fine folks at WGN Channel 9, Micah Matera. They did a fantastic job covering all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. Cheryl Burton over there at ABC Channel 7, they're on top of this coverage. The looting, they had the choppers out there, everything. This is going on all night. And so for this guy, the president of the FOP, he's calling us liars because we didn't see what we saw. He said that the rioting ended over there on the South Side early in the day. There was nothing going on. Are you kidding? That was the problem.
Well,
but here's, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I do. Here's the big issue.
Yeah.
After his peers had a chance to see it, other commanders, the new police chief, and other police officers, when they denounced it, when they said that this is deplorable, when they said that this is terrible, they're talking about their peers. We as civilians, lay people, we can skew it, we can say it, but their own peers said this is indefensible.
Well, Canizaro defended them. If there's nobody there, what are they supposed to do? Stand in a skirmish line in the middle of the night for 5 hours with nobody there? Makes no sense, he said.
Yeah.
If their job was to protect the premise from being further looted, I mean, it looks bad, but again, it's not the end of the world. Like they're trying to make it and turn it into some kind of racial event.
Well, it's turned into a racial event because, first of all, the title on the police motto is serve and protect.
Yeah.
It's to serve and protect, not chill and relax.
Well, it's still better than downtown Seattle.
Well, I'm not talking about Seattle because I live in Chicago, and that's another story. But it's called serve and protect, not chill and relax. And you're making a big issue out of it. Of course you're making a big issue out of it because you had 13 representatives of the Chicago Police Department for 4 to 5 hours. It's on videotape, just relaxing, eating popcorn, and drinking coffee while people are out there looting. Crime is taking place, and it was just blocks away from where they were.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I'm not expecting them to put on their Superman cape and go and save the world, Marvelous. Oh. I'm not expecting that. But what the hell are you doing? And how many cops do you need to protect Bobby Rush's office that you just said he was a Black Panther and hate white police officers? I mean, so why you got 13 guys over there protecting a place where you know the guy doesn't like you?
If you didn't know any better, you'd think they were off duty.
They were.
They were.
Commend Lori Lightfoot. You know what? Let me tell you something. It shouldn't be a race issue. It shouldn't be a political issue. It's a human issue. It's a human issue. There shouldn't be any hate going on or anything of that nature. There should be peace and love. And I'm not being tongue in cheek with that. I'm being really serious.
Yeah.
There needs to be love and peace and compassion for one another. Mm-hmm. And the old saying goes, a good Lord, Jesus Christ said, hey, love one another and treat people the way you want to be treated. That's all. Listen, I've been hit upside the head before. I didn't like it, but I've never hit anybody upside the head. I don't want people attacking me or you or Devin or anybody. And I don't want anyone else to get attacked. But if the law-abiding citizens of this great city of Chicago, and I continue to say it's great because it allowed me a lot of opportunities and allowed me a lot of things to do compared to maybe other places in the world that I wouldn't have the opportunity to experience. But do we need a lot of work? There is no question about it. We need a lot of work. And it starts at home. Marvelous. It starts at home.
Amen. That's all I can say. Absolutely.
Hey, as Rodney King said, may he rest in peace. Because people, they pretended that didn't happen either. No. Oh, those police officers beat him with a baton?
He wasn't resting in peace at the time.
Yeah, that didn't happen. He didn't get beat. It wasn't that bad. Yeah. But may he rest in peace. And in his own words, can we all just get along?
Yeah. It's it's sad.
It is. You know what's even, I'm not going to say it's worse, but it's as bad. Major League Baseball. You got millionaires and billionaires arguing over dollars when, 40 million people are out of work. Unemployed.
Yeah.
Later on in the broadcast, we're going to have an opportunity to talk with someone from the Northern Illinois Food Bank. Her name is Teresa Shriver. Yeah. She's going to be joining us on the Rewind Sports 60 because yours truly this weekend. I continue to let me tell you something. I'm Chicago's friend. I'm here to help. Yours truly, my family and I, we were out in Elgin yesterday distributing food to nearly 1,500 families. 1,500 families. We were delivering food to folks out in Elgin just to help out, Marvelous, because, again, the unemployment numbers are skyrocketing. What is it at, 25% or something like that around the country? Yeah. 40 million people out of work.
That's just the ones that are reported.
That's exactly right. But the Northern Illinois Food Bank, Teresa Shriver, is going to be joining us later in the program to talk about that. And it was a really, really heartfelt day. It was a really great day, and it was a great turnout. Both sides were thankful. The people, the group, the organization distributing the food, of course, the volunteers of 22 people, including myself and my family, and, of course, those families coming up to receive those groceries. So it was a very good, feel-good day. And that's what we need to do here in this country. And we need to start at home in our communities, and we need to continue to expand it out in the Chicagoland area. And we need to work together. But I don't want the FOP president. What's his name again?
John Ketterzat.
John, stop it.
Okay.
Stop it, John. We can see. We're not blind. We're not stupid. We're not ignorant. We can see. Stop it. Don't try to hoodwink us. Those guys were chilling. They were lounging. They were sucking up the coffee, eating up the popcorn, and I love popcorn. But don't BS us and tell us that we're blowing it out of proportion. Don't blow it. Don't BS and tell us that it's not racial. Don't BS and tell us it's not political, because it is. It is. We're not stupid. And many of us who are north of 30, 40 years of age, we know the system that works, the machine, Chicago machine. And I commend Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And the whole damn city voted for her. Everybody in the city from one end to the other voted for Lori Lightfoot because they wanted a change. They wanted to break up the machine. And I know change is very difficult. It's very hard. But don't try to BS us and hoodwink us and say it didn't happen, that it's being blown out of proportion. That's ridiculous. It's an insult. What's wrong with you? And you have an invitation to come on the Rewind Sports 60, WCPT 828 AM, anytime you want to. Well, any Sunday between 6 and 7 on the Rewind Sports 60. You have an opportunity to come on and spew your BS here, and I'll challenge you and I'll debate you. But please, don't insult our intelligence by telling us that we're blowing it out of proportion after we see 13 cops while looting and rioting is going on, that it was okay, that they weren't lounging. The one guy basically laying, he was laid out like he was at home.
Yeah, there's a picture, where the guy's just spread out on the sofa.
We're not idiots.
Yeah.
I can see. I know, I mean, my vision is kind of going a little bit, but it's not that bad.
Well, that's another case of where if somebody knows there's cameras, I mean, how stupid can you be?
Bingo. Bingo. There are cameras all over the place. How you can't dispute the camera. Well, you can't dispute it. But again, it's a bunch of hogwash.
Yeah.
It's BS. It's ridiculous. I got to get off my soapbox. I'm sorry.
Good. How do you really feel?
Don't get me started, man.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I talked about the food bank and helping others out with the Northern Illinois Food Bank yesterday in Elgin. And we're going to have one of the representatives on later on in the broadcast to talk about the experience and how everything came about. But we're pleased to welcome on our TR60 hotline, love this guy, former Chicago Bears outside linebacker. You've seen him across the news outlets last week. He was over on Chicago's west side. He's none other than Sam Acho, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60. Sam, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Hey, man. Thank you so very much for taking some time to join us on the program. You're a very, very busy man, and you've been in the media, no question about it. And, of course, we know your work as far as playing in the National Football League is concerned. We'll get an opportunity to touch base on that, brother. But I want to say thank you so very much, not only for joining us on the program, but thank you for the great work and effort that you've been doing here in the city of Chicago and your recent work by addressing the neighbors and the kids in the Austin neighborhood on the Chicago's west side last week, courtesy of the By the Hand Club for Kids. You, Mitchell Trubisky, Allen Robinson, Jonathan Tays,
Jason Hayward.
We just want to say congratulations and thank you so very much for going the extra yard, going the extra mile, man, to try to keep this city sane, balanced, and make a brighter future for some folks, brother.
Yeah, well, this is only the beginning. I think we went out, the 10 of us, me, Mitch, A-Rob, Taves, Malcolm Subban from the Blackhawks, Jason Kipnis as well from the Cubs, Hayward from the Cubs, Brian Artudiacono from the Bulls, Max Strus from the Bulls, Tyler Lancaster, and Austin Carr, who both went to Northwestern, who both play in the NFL. The 10 of us got together, and we didn't invite any media, right? So we just went, we wanted to serve. And so I say that to say this is only the beginning. That was the first step. We were back out in the community again last week as well. And we're just continuing this process of trying to see long-lasting change in our community.
How did you get involved? What made you rally these guys together and say, hey, this is something that we have to do? And I appreciate it, and I love you guys for it because you're showing unity and you're bringing diversity to the city of Chicago in a positive manner. How were you able to rally these guys together and come together to say, hey, man, we need to unify and go out and make a positive impact in the community?
Yeah, well, I got a book coming out in the fall, and in it I talk about a relationship that George McCaskey and I have. He's the chairman of the Chicago Bears. The book is called Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes. And I think what we've seen is that a lot of people talk about change, but they're not about the change that they talk about. And so for me, it was just this idea of what it means to build relationships. And in the book I mentioned, I have this story where George and I actually go into the community because we saw what was happening with 2017, 2018. Players were taking a knee and no one knew what to do. And so after a lot of players wanted to protest, some did, some didn't. George McCaskey said, hey, how about I'm all for the protests, I'm with you, I'm behind you, but whatever you all do, number one, do it together, and number two, let's make a long-lasting change. Come up to my office, let's talk about how we can make a change. And that conversation led to relationship. It led to he and I going to a prison in Illinois, he and I going to a rap concert from a socially conscious rapper to learn more about social issues. We did a police ride-along in Inglewood in District 7 on the south side of Chicago. We came together and we built relationship. And so that idea was birthed years ago, but it came to fruition even now with bringing people together, to try and have experiences to change people's worldviews.
Hey, Sam Acho, formerly of the Chicago Bears, outside linebacker, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60. You were with the Bears from 2015 to 2018. So, of course, you're still in the league when, and you talked about him, and everyone's talking about him, Colin Kaepernick, when he took the knee in preseason in August of 2016, and all the whole controversy got underway. What was your feelings and your position when Colin Kaepernick took his position to state the injustices and the inequalities going on in the urban communities around the country? Because there were a lot of NFL players that say, hey, you know what, man, I got a job to do. I got to keep a job. I'm not going to screw this thing up. Where there were some who said, you know what, we're going to roll with you, brother. What was your position? Because we do know that the Bears, Solidarity, later on locked hands, maybe not that season, but maybe a year or two afterwards, they locked hands in unison on the sideline during the national anthem. But initially, there was a lot of pushback. What was your feelings and reaction back then to what Colin Kaepernick's message was all about and what he was doing?
Yeah, well, I was a part of that decision-making process in deciding and understanding and figuring out what we were going to do in response to not only Colin's protesting, but also there's political involvement as well. The president had made some comments about NFL players being SOBs and so on and so forth. And so there was a mass uproar amongst not just our team, but the entire NFL. And so that season, the 2017 season, I was met by George McCaskey, Ryan Pace, and John Fox. And I talk about this in the book as well. So I'm not going to tell you the whole story. Y'all got to go read it to find out. But I was met by those three men, and the question was, what are you all going to do during the national anthem? And so that decision of locking arms came about from a conversation not with them, but with the entire team of deciding how are we going to respond. I think a lot of people understood what Colin was protesting for because we listened to what he said. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm protesting police brutality after black people are getting killed by the police and there's no accountability. So he was talking about this years and years ago. And he said, I can't sit here and stand for a flag and stand for a country that's not holding up its end of the bargain. And so when he made those comments, I rocked with them because it was about justice and it's about doing what I perceive as the right thing. But he also had the platform. Remind you, he was coming off of a Super Bowl appearance, coming off of being a top-rated quarterback, coming off of an unbelievable season, so all eyes were on him. So he had that platform to make that move and to make that change. And I think now we're seeing, years later, people are following.
Now, this is Dan Marver in the studio here, Sam. You know, Roger Goodell has made it plain that he really is sorry that he didn't support it more then. And and circumstances are such that apparently he supports it now, and they'll be allowed to, if there's ever a season, to do that in the coming season. So I guess you would think that's progress. It's unfortunately due to the circumstances that led to it.
Yeah, it's progress, and what I'm excited about is the action that follows progress. I'm excited about the movement that follows the words. Roger Goodell made a statement saying that yes, there is systemic oppression in the NFL. Systemic racism does exist in society. Let's admit that. Yes, black lives do indeed matter. They are indeed important. And so when I hear those comments, I get excited because I think that action will follow. When I say I think, I've seen the NFL make a statement saying we're going to commit $250 million over the next 10 years to go towards social justice causes. Money is great, and I'm all excited about that, but there's more that needs to be done. What needs to be done as well is action. We need our time. Players and the league need to be invested in the long-term benefit and care of our communities. Every community, every city that has an NFL team needs to see that investment, not just of a check, but also of your time and your platform saying, hey, these are the issues. Everyone go out and vote. Number one. Number two, let's train our leaders on what explicit and implicit bias is and how to be more diverse in their bubbles. Let's do this training. And then lastly, let's try and use our platforms, our positions of leadership, not only to do change, but to entice others to make change as well. Our partners, our fans, everyone needs to be a part of this movement.
We're on with Sam Acho, former Bear, outside linebacker, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60. Here's I know we all want encouragement. We hope that this leads to something, beneficial, positive. and in the right direction. That's the whole reason for movement, for change. But here's the kind of scary thing for me, Sam. And yeah, money's fantastic, and it's a great gesture for the commissioner Roger Goodell to come out and say, hey, that the NFL, we were wrong. And then for the NFL to say, hey, we're going to contribute $250 million over the next 10 years, to fight this battle. The unfortunate thing for me is the fact that none of the owners, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard any owner publicly come out and apologize and say, hey, we were wrong and Colin Kaepernick was right and we're going to change our ways. I understand the $250 million gesture is good, but just think about this. One man, one owner in the National Basketball Association, Chicago Bulls all-time great, NBA all-time great, the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, he committed $100 million. One man committed $100 million, and all the ownerships in the National Football League only contributed $250 million. So to me, there's some type of discrepancy right there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I love that.
Does that make sense?
I'm with you. And I actually agree with you to this point. I agree with you. So we heard the statement from Roger Goodell, and here's the only way I would disagree, right? The player said, hey, Roger Goodell, we want you to say X. We want you to say these things. And what did Roger Goodell do? He said those things. No one ever said, owners, we want you to say this thing. So I think if you go to next level thinking, Roger Goodell works for the owners. And so it's easy for him to say those things. It's a whole different ask for the owners to say those things. I think that's why when I made that video with George McCaskey, the chairman of the Chicago Bears, his mom, Virginia McCaskey, owns the team. He and I made a video last week that talked about how do we reconcile? How do we reconcile? If you're going to reconcile, that means there was an issue before that needs to be solved. And so in our video, and it's on my social media, you can follow me or watch it there. But that video talks about the differences a lot of us have and ways that we can come together. That was an owner, or better yet, call it a chairman, right? His mom, Virginia, is the owner. But he acts in that he acts in that capacity. Mm-hmm. So I believe that was action. I would love to see other owners come out and do the same. I'd love to see other owners come out and say, players, African Americans in particular, are and have been treated unfairly in this country. But I don't want it to stop there. That's the thing. I want us to go and do something about it. A statement is great, but like I said, $250 million, it's not $250 billion, but it's something. It's a step in the right direction. I believe more should be and more will be allocated. And I think those are proper steps to make change. You make a statement, great. Mm-hmm. We also go and follow it up with action. Yeah, that's true. But I'd love to see it be more, like you said. No, I think it should be more. But actions, as they say, speak louder than words. And here's the black community here in the Chicagoland area have a little bit of a side eye, a stink eye with the Chicago Bears organization. When you talk about these, because we can keep you on for hours, right? Because of the Rooney Rule, the lack of representation in the front offices. A lot of blacks who follow sports, and everyone in Chicago loves the Chicago Bears, right? But a lot of African Americans and some minorities, black and brown fans here in the Chicagoland area had some issues. One with Chico Rivera, Ron Rivera, who's been blessed to go on and move on to the Washington Redskins as the head coach. But the more stinking part for the minorities in the black American community who follow the Chicago Bears was Lovie Smith, who is down at the University of Illinois now, but he got fired. This man got fired as the head coach of the Chicago Bears after going 10-6, I think for 2 consecutive seasons. They fired him and leading his team to the Super Bowl. That didn't make any sense. And so when you talk about putting the money out front to help fight an issue, to help fight a cause, yet when you look at the front office, and I respect everyone that works over at Hallis Hall and in the front office for the Chicago Bears. I may not always agree with what's going on, but when you look at it from an outside perspective, there are a lot of people that scratch their head and go, hey, you guys aren't a true reflection of what you say you stand for, because we're looking at the pictures and it don't look like us. What do you say to those folks who say that? Yeah, I think that's where the change has to start. I recently wrote an article in the Players Tribune that talked about the race problem, the issue of race that still exists in the NFL, specifically when it comes to coaching. How in 2002, when the Rooney Rule was implemented, there were 3 black coaches in the NFL. 17, 18 years later, there are still 3 black coaches in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a problem. That's a major issue. And so I spoke to it there on that Players Tribune article, and I think those issues remain the same, that owners are biased. A massive amount of Americans are biased, and it's unconscious bias. It's implicit bias. It's bias oftentimes that you don't even know that you have. And so how do you solve that? People say this is a slap on the wrist. It's not that big of a deal, but I think you need to be trained and educate yourself on some of your biases. You need to undergo bias training, number one. Number two, more than that, educate yourself. Go like I did with McCaskey. We went to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. We went to Howard University and sat in on a class that talked about race. And then, like I said, I talk about this in Let the World See You, my book coming out. But go and educate yourself, right? Read some books. There's a couple books I started to read when I started to understand that I need to educate myself more. And so, yes, we've come a long way, but I think a large amount of Americans need to go and educate themselves, not only on American history, but American history through an African-American lens. I learned about Fritz Pollard, who was the first black coach. He coached in 1921, first black coach in the NFL, coached all the way till 1925. Well, the next black coach didn't happen for another 64 years, 1989, Art Shell, Oakland Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Right, what happened? You do some research, there's some theories, and there's actually some history that says, yeah, that wasn't just implicit bias, that was flat-out racism. People saying there's never going to be another black coach as long as I live. That's what happened, right? And fast forward, you see all these biases and biases and biases. Look at college head coaching and the track records. African Americans aren't getting a fair shot. And so I think once we admit that, we have to admit it, address it, educate ourselves on the history, and say, what can we do to make substantive change?
It's a $1 million question. No pun intended with all the money that's being exchanged, but it's a very important question, and it's a very difficult question because, I have people, friends, associates in all walks of life, and I was talking with just my family members who work for corporate America, and the hiring practices indicates that you find the best candidate to meet your company's needs. The unfortunate thing about it, Sam, is that when you talk about systemic racism, if you take a young black kid from the Inglewood area, the Austin area of Chicago, and try to compare him to a kid that lives in Libertyville or Deerfield or Northbrook or Naperville, when you talk about the educational, divide there, it's as they continue to progress, it's going to widen the gap as far as getting those corporate positions because the best candidate was better prepared for that position compared to the individual or the kid that's coming out of Inglewood or Austin area. And so,
without a doubt.
Yeah. So if I'm a white male, and I'm not letting white males off the hook now, but if I'm a white male in a boardroom and I'm looking for the best candidate to represent my company, and I see that Mary Sue or John Doe from Naperville has these credentials from MIT or Harvard or Yale, and then I look at Tyrone or Tamika from the west side or the south side, and she's gone to southern Illinois or northern Illinois, and I go, well, I'm going over here with these candidates from MIT and Harvard and Yale because they meet my needs more. But it's not to say that, Tamika and Tyrone couldn't do a better job. But that's why it's a great question. It's a challenging question, but that's the problem.
And respectfully, I couldn't disagree more. And here's why. On one point, the study was done recently that showed that people with the exact same resumes, so MIT, same SAT scores, exact same resumes, but one had a white-sounding name, like I said, Mary Sue or John, and one had a black-sounding name, Tyrone or what have you. People with the white-sounding names got called back twice as often
Sure.
as the person with the black sounding name.
Sure.
So I disagree with you because that had nothing to do with their education or their upbringing. The resumes were exactly the same. The only difference in this study done by a university was the name.
Yeah.
So where I disagree with you is that it's not about I would say it's not about your education. It's not about hiring the best candidate. It's not about having the best person for the job. It's about the person that you are most comfortable with.
No.
Exact same resume,
Yeah.
but I'm more comfortable with John or Mary Sue.
Yeah.
And that's our issue. It's this issue of bias, implicit bias, where people say, well, this guy, he sounds like someone I'd get along with. Tyrone sounds a little bit too hood for me. And so the issue is not about education, though that is part of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working with some organizations in Chicago that are actually we're in the West Side trying to build, we're calling it Cradle to College. So it's preschools, it's health and wellness, it's prison reform, it's job opportunities. So there's a piece there that needs to be improved, and we can talk about that. But there's a whole other issue you're talking about when it comes to unconscious and implicit bias. When I say I'd rather work with Mary Sue than with Tyrone, or I'd rather work with John or Billy than with Devontae. That is the issue, and that bias and that issue needs to be addressed. It needs to be admitted. People need to understand that they have it. Many people don't even know that they have these issues. Understand you have it, and then you can grow from there.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, and it's very, very well said. But there is a reason why you and all of these athletes were on the West Side in the Austin community, and why you and George McCaskey were in Inglewood on the South Side, because of the discrepancy there, and a lot has to do with education. So you're absolutely right. There was a young lady I heard speak at a rally in Buffalo Grove last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend previous, and she said that she graduated valedictorian from her college, right? Her school. And she sent out 350 resumes and never got one call back. African-American young lady. She said she changed her name to Sarah, Sam. She changed her name to Sarah. Within 7 attempts, she got called back for interviews after changing her name to Sarah. That you're absolutely right when you voice that, but it's a tremendous hill to climb. But I think, like you, having the wisdom and the foresight to go up to the top boss, so to speak, George McCaskey with the Chicago Bears organization, say we need to do this, and for him to agree and partner with you and actually go out there and put some action behind his words, that shows and says volumes. But it's got to continue to grow. It's got to continue to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that should be the example, right? Going and seeing and doing. I'm all about education. I went to the number one private school in the United States. I'm all about education. I'm all about improving our communities. Don't get me wrong. But the example you said with your friend who changed her name to Sarah, and also the studies that have shown, even if I do go to the best school, because my name is Tyrone or Devontae or Laquan, I'm not going to get a call back. So it's not either or, it's both and. We have to walk down this road together. These things it's like oxen that are equally yoked. They're hand in hand. They're neck in neck. You can't just improve the education systems to have the people who hire still not hired because you're black. It's not going to work. You can't just only train people to hire qualified candidates no matter their skin color, but then still leave education systems in shambles because of redlining and because of de-investment into certain neighborhoods. You can't do that. It has to be both and equally yoked and moving in the same direction.
Hey, Sam, this is Dan again. You know, if you look at the NFL, it isn't MIT and Harvard people interviewing for those jobs, except for maybe McCaskey. It's 70% of the players, as you pointed out, are black, but upstairs among the 32 NFL franchise, there are just 3 black coaches, 2 general managers, and 2 offensive coordinators, and no black majority owners. So when they're interviewing, according to the Rooney Rule, I mean, a lot of them are just players versus players. So that's why it's baffling that the NFL is probably even more guilty than society in that regard.
Yeah, I would say just as guilty. You look at venture capitalist companies, the numbers are the same. You look at college coaches, the numbers are the same, if not worse. This is an American problem. It's not just an NFL problem. This is an American problem. Slavery started 400 years ago. that lasted for about 200, 250 years. Fast forward, Jim Crow laws lasted for about 150 years. And so this problem hasn't gone away. We're trying to put a Band-Aid over a bullet hole, and you can't do that. You either go and do surgery, take that bullet out, admit that you got shot, take that bullet out, and now allow for real healing to happen. And you don't get overnight healing from a 400-year problem. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work in a tweet or in a week. It's going to take years and years and years of commitment. And I think people need to be and are ready to be committed. That's why I'm excited. I'm overjoyed. People are ready to be committed. People are excited. White people are ready to commit. Black people have been saying, please come commit. And finally, because of a pandemic, because of a nation that was essentially shut down, everyone got a chance to see what Black people have been seeing for years, for decades, for centuries, the injustice. And I'm hopeful because people are ready to change.
Yeah, I'm happy too, and we can continue to talk with you, and we love the conversation, and hopefully it won't be the last. But before we let you go, got to ask you about one of your one of your peers, man. He last week, as you heard, and everyone across the world heard, pretty much, he put his foot in his mouth. And a lot of people thought he was the golden child. He was a good, honorable guy, uprighteous man, and which he is, I believe, and a family man. But unfortunately, he put his foot in his mouth, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to continue to represent the flag, and you better not kneel because you're showing disrespect." And of course, the longtime starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints, that being Drew Brees. What did you think of his comments and his retraction of it?
What I get hopeful for is the fact that we can have conversations and have dialogue, and people can be wrong, and people can admit that they're wrong. People think that players are giving Drew Brees an out for forgiving him. I think forgiveness is the only way. Drew Brees was wrong. He was wrong. He said, "I will never kneel during the anthem because my fathers fought for this country, or my grandfathers fought for this country." Well, he was called out. African Americans have grandfathers and fathers who fought for this country as well. But he went back and he apologized. And I think that apology, it wasn't just a tweet or a statement from his PR people. He went out, called out the president. He called out the president. He went out, made a video. He called out the president. He called all his teammates, stuff that no one knows. I had a meeting with one of his teammates the next day. We were going in the community, and he said, I'll be late. I got a call with Drew. Called each and every one of his teammates and apologized formally. And so I love where we're at a place where it's like MLK said, black kids and white kids can walk hand in hand. That's regardless of mistakes, regardless of differences, regardless of if we put our feet in our mouth, we can say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. Will you forgive me? And the other side can say yes.
I love it. And I hope that more of us around the country, black, white, green, red, orange, yellow, purple, whatever the color may be that you represent and you stand for, I hope that we all can come together and just unite and work for a common good and work for peace, man. Hey, thank you so very much for taking time on this Sunday, your precious time. We really appreciate it, and keep up the great work you're doing in the community, man. And if you need any help, you need any support, we're right here for you. The Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM. And I'm a board member on the Monster Education Foundation, here in the Chicagoland area. And we do exactly what you guys are doing as well. But we try to take it to the highest level by providing scholarships for these young kids coming out of the Inglewood and the Austin community, man. So we might be reaching out for some support from you guys as well. But I say that to say thank you again for helping the next generation of leaders, not only here in the city of Chicago, but hopefully around the country and around the world, Sam Acho. Thank you.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I look forward to partnering. Thank you so much. And like I said, there's some stories just like you heard, if not more. Let the world see you. How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes. You can find it on Amazon, and I look forward to you guys reading it and hearing about how we can make this change in our country. Well,
we're going to have you back once your book is ready to be, put out there on the market, man. We certainly want you back. And hopefully with all this pandemic and everything, it's past us, our new normal, maybe we can get you in the studio, okay?
Awesome.
You're the best, brother. Keep up the good work. God bless you, and thanks for taking time.
Thanks.
Sam Acho joining us, former Chicago Bear outside linebacker, joining us on the Rewind Sports 60. It is the fastest hour in sports conversation. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, here in studio. We got to say that Quentin Demps, the 17th letter of the alphabet, Q, is on assignment, along with Lauren Cox. They have the day off, so they'll be with us next week. There's no question about it. Gabe Salgado is still rehabbing from a knee surgery that he had about a week or so ago, so it'll be a couple more weeks before he's back up with his TR60 scoreboard updates. And we want to say we're going commercial free, but Marvelous, do you have a quick read for a couple of our sponsors?
Sure.
Ciaranello's and, of course, the Liquor Barn.
Sure. This portion of the Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by the Liquor Barn, located in Wheeling and Niles. Stop by 287 East Dundee Road in Wheeling or 8170 Golf Road in Niles for all your wine and spirits needs. The Liquor Barn is located in Wheeling and Niles. Tell Marcel and Tom in Wheeling that the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop in and say hello. And,
Well, hang on, Beef. Okay, good.
you got the other one,
Okay,
buddy.
thank you, Marvelous. Before we go on, we got to say Ciaranello's. We want to say thank those guys. Chef Michael Bonner, they're doing a fantastic job over at Ciaranello's in Wheeling, 601 North Milwaukee Avenue. They do have their outside dining patio area open now for dining, so give them a call. Tell Chef Michael Bonner that Jerry Riles, the Marvelous One, Dan Marver, and all the gang at the Rewind Sports 60 WCPT sent you over there. You can still order out, I think, curbside as well. But go on over there, dine out. They have great lasagna. The hamburger is, man, remember Fred Flintstone when you get those big, whatever, those big old rhinoceros burgers or whatever, those big old, they got them that size over there. It's unbelievable. Everything is fine. They even have a menu for the vegans. So if you have someone that's vegan or vegetarian in your family, Ciaranello's in Wheeling, that's the place to be. They'll definitely take care of you. And we're talking about food. I'm getting hungry. And I was honestly about to pick up some food yesterday when I was in Elgin. He said, why, Jerry? You live in Wheeling, northern suburbs of Chicago. Why Elgin? Well, I was over there helping out some fine folks with the Northern Illinois Food Bank who launched a pop-up market that started in April, but they were in Elgin at Elgin Community College yesterday. And there are about 22 volunteers who helped out, including myself and my beautiful wife and my two lovely daughters. And we helped pass out 1,500 grocery items to over 1,000 families in like 3 hours. And we're pleased to welcome on our TR60 hotline, ladies and gentlemen. She is Teresa Shriver. She's the Advocacy and Awareness Specialist for Northern Illinois Food Bank. Teresa, how are you? Welcome to the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty good. How are y'all doing?
Doing fantastic. Teresa, man, I got to tell you, that was a fun time yesterday. It was really, really heartfelt and just a humanitarian gesture to help out some fine folks who are really in need, man. That was fantastic. Tell our fans and our listeners and viewers about, what we were doing yesterday in Elgin.
Sure, yeah. So, well, first, thanks for coming out and helping us. We always need help doing these sorts of things. Northern Illinois Food Bank, we serve the 13 counties that kind of come up right next to Cook County. We got a number of pantries that serve folks every day. And our pop-up markets is something that we put together in response to the COVID crisis. We were getting calls from our pantries, and we were getting calls from neighbors everywhere, searching for more help. With everyone being laid off and everybody having to be in shelter in place, we all kind of remember hearing about how the unemployment rates just skyrocketed. Mm-hmm. So we just knew that we had to do something more. So we were getting in a ton of donations, initially of produce and a lot of things that were actually going to be going to restaurants that couldn't take it anymore. And so we had an overabundance of food available to people. And we figured, well, let's see what we can do. How can we get this to people the quickest? And that's where we decided to just do these big pop-up markets throughout our service area. The first one we did was actually in Geneva at the metro station. And I know Geneva, a lot of people might hear that, but and think about, oh, that's a fancy place to be. But hunger is everywhere. And we served about 800 people that day. in about a couple hours. And it's just exploded since that. So initially we were doing one each Saturday in different locations. We've been down to Joliet. We've been to Rockford. We've been up to Gurnee at Six Flags. We're actually going to be back at Gurnee this coming Saturday. And each time we're serving close to 1,500 folks. Joliet, we served 2,200 people that day. And we're just able to provide this additional food for people. The way that it works is we literally drop the food off. We've got our semi-trucks full of product, and we put them down there. We got boxes full of produce and meat and everything like that. And people can come and they drive through. They don't ever have to get out of their car. There's no worries about any sort of contact with anybody. They drive in. They tell us, are they picking up for one household, two? A lot of people tell us they're coming to pick up for themselves, but also their elderly neighbor. And so they go through and they pop their trunk, and our volunteers place those boxes of food in their trunks for them, and then they're off on their way. So it's just a really great way to get out there and help folks and get this great food that we're getting donated to us into our communities.
Great job. Congratulations on all that good work, Teresa. So I see in your bio, did you go to Monmouth College?
I did go to Monmouth College.
Yeah, it's like Ohio State and Michigan, Jerry.
Take it easy.
My daughter went to Knox, so you wouldn't understand that. But you guys.
I come from a split family too.
Okay.
I got some family that go to Knox, so I know that.
So Teresa, thank you so very much. Now you said the next time you're going to be out is in Gurnee.
Yeah, so next Saturday we're going to actually be at Great America in Gurnee. So we're going to have our trucks there in the parking lot, and you can come and pick up food there. And we also are working with one of our pantries, Faith Movers Church down in University Park. So you can go to north or south on next Saturday to get some food from us. And if anyone's interested to learn where we're going to be next, they can visit our website. It's solvehungertoday.org. And if they go to solvehungertoday.org/pop-ups, that'll take you straight to our pop-up calendar, and you can see when we're going to be in your community next.
Okay, so it's solvehungertoday.org pop-ups, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so if anyone's interested in either volunteering or if they want to pick up a meal, that's where they go to find out the details and information.
Yep, and if you just go to Solve Hunger Today, I'm sorry, guys, it's Sunday.
No, it's okay. We appreciate your time.
Yeah. If you go to our website, you can learn about a ton of opportunities. We do pop-ups, but we do smaller versions called mobile pantries. We have a lot of opportunities for folks to get involved and help us serve our neighbors. But also, if you need any extra help, always come and check out our website. You can find your nearest pantry, and we can help however you need help.
Sounds good. Thank you so very much, Teresa. I got to say, Megan did a great job helping us get things together. She was out there along. Now, I didn't. Were you out there? I don't know.
No, I was actually. So we had the one in Elgin, and we had one in Glendale Heights yesterday. So I was at the one in Glendale Heights.
Okay. But Chris and everyone out there did a fantastic job, and it was great. I don't remember the pastor from the local church there, Hispanic gentleman, but he was on his FaceTime or whatever he was telling. He had 621 followers on his live feed telling people to come out to pick up, these grocery items, and before you know it, the parking lot was backed up. The police had to cut off, the flow coming in because people were coming from all directions in the Elgin area. And it was a beautiful thing. And all the volunteers that are taking place and participating to help out, it was what was needed, and it's what it's all about as far as people coming together and helping each other. And you guys led the way with that, so I appreciate you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you letting us know that, and I appreciate that you were able to come. And, I think there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in this world, and I'm blessed to be able to see just some of the best of humanity in what I do every day.
Teresa,
you know, we're there to help our neighbors. That's what we do.
There you go. Can keep up the great work. Keep helping out. Teresa Shriver on our TR60 hotline with the Northern Illinois Food Bank, Apathy and Awareness Specialist. Thank you so very much. God bless you, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see you on Saturday. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care.
Take care.
Dan, Marvelous Marver,
Yeah.
yours truly, Jerry Riles. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. We got to say goodbye. If you miss any portion of it, check out Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitter. Take care. Stay safe. Go Bears!
Yep.
We're out of here.
The Rewind Sports60.com. The Rewind Sports60.com. Relax. Reset. Rejuvenate. Go to our link right now to restart your life. The Rewind Sports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.
Take me out to the ball game, Hall of Famer Andre Dawson.
All right. Let's hear it from the greatest fans ever. On three. 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back Forest Root. Root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hey, let's get some runs. Thank you.